Hello, rock stars. What's going on? It is Leona Carter, and we are joining in on another episode of She Builds Intimacy with Her Husband podcast. Be sure you check out all the latest and the greatest at LeonaCarter.com. So today I have a phenomenal rock star that's coming down to the podcast stage, and her name is Eowyn. And so she is going to tell us a little bit about herself, tell us what you do, and let's dive in.
I'm pretty excited to be called a rock star. I think that might be a first in my life. So thank you for that. I'm super grateful to be here and happy.
Awesome. So who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? That's a big question. Are we going to talk philosophy? That would be exciting. I studied philosophy. Nice. Who am I? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do in the average day. I run a private massage practice here in New York City where I live. And I am in the process of growing a little seedling business, helping other self-employed creatives and artists and healers get better with money, because Lord knows we all struggle with money. And I've been through my own history of really being in it with the struggle and then slowly learning my way out of it and gaining a lot of confidence and experience. And I'm super stoked about sharing that with others.
Awesome. That is amazing. So especially, your industry, how you help people in their finances. Listen, has any of that changed in the pandemic? How has that been affected by the pandemic?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm doing it. It was such a wake-up call for so many folks. They're like, oh my goodness, here comes the unexpected. And I was not ready. Here are all the ways I was not ready. I was unable to get a PPP loan for my business because I didn't have my paperwork in order, or I didn't have an emergency fund, or whatever it be. Like so many just kind of moments where they're like, I just wasn't ready. Like none of us wants an emergency, but it happens. And part of getting good with money is just preparing for the unknown. So I think there's been a real shift in folks just realizing, you know what, it's time to get some skills and learn some stuff and do things differently so that I can take care a bit better of my future self no matter what happens.
That is so true. Listen, what I know is, finances has been rocked, marriages has been rocked, parenting has been rocked, and so you bring a great point of really recalibrating. It's like really we're going back to the drawing board, like, okay, what I've been doing for the last few years is like not working. And so that's amazing that, you have the ability to do that even for yourself and for your clients. So now speaking of your clients, who is your ideal client? Who is listening to the call when you speak?
Yeah. The folks I connect with most are those whose life experiences I understand and know. And that's people who work for themselves, maybe not making a ton of money, but devoted to their work. They've been doing it consistently, but personal finance kind of smacks of big business and capitalism and Amazon and a lot of things that they try to avoid in their life. And so getting good with money and learning those skills is something that they've just kind of rejected. Maybe they just don't want to associate with it and feel like, what is it? It's like money is just the cause of so many problems in the world, or I should say greed is. And so there's some confusion in that bundle. And so, it's folks who work in these creative industries who are really passionate about changing the way the world works and social justice and just living a creative, art-filled life, and somehow haven't quite spent the time they might want to spend, and maybe just kind of ignore their finances as well. There's a lot of not opening envelopes and not checking bank accounts and just kind of hoping it's all going to go away, which I understand because I've been there.
Yeah, it sounds familiar to me too. Yeah, like, maybe if I just ignore this bill, then it'll pay itself magically, right?
Yes.
That is amazing. So now in your entrepreneurial journey, how did you know that you hit something? How did you know that you're like, yeah, this is it? Or, oh my God, this is, because of maybe a aha moment that a client got, or how they kind of connected with you and like, oh my God, Eowyn, this is amazing. Like, what was that moment for you?
Hmm. I have to say, I don't identify a specific moment. I think to a pattern where friends might ask me questions about how to handle stuff in their business, or colleagues would be like, hey, how do I do this thing? And I want to get better at just managing my money in my business. What steps might I take? So there were kind of a few little breadcrumb moments like that came up. And, I think actually, let me walk that back. There was an aha moment, but it was a moment for me, and it was once the pandemic had started.
Mm.
So, as a massage therapist, the pandemic had everyone's been impacted by the pandemic, but in terms of one's professional life, certain professions have been far more impacted than others, right? So, someone in the hospitality industry, or anything involving performance and crowds or close physical contact, their lives have been upended in a way that someone who can work from home hasn't. And so, my practice had to shut down. I wanted to shut it down, of course. And so I had to pause. And my spouse, Michael, my husband, and I know we'll be talking some about relationships and marriage. He's a classical musician. So his world is audiences gathered inside a theater, him in an audience, in an orchestra playing for that audience. And so his life, he's also self-employed. And so our financial life just took a major 180 turn. We got a lot of support, right? So there was government, unemployment available to us, and we took advantage of all of that. But one of the reasons we're doing okay and we've been able to pay our rent through this whole thing is that our financial life is in pretty good shape. So we're not perfect. We both still have student loans, and there's things that we can do better at and everything. But there was this moment of realization of, oh, we're okay. And we're okay because I especially, and Michael came with me in this process, got pretty obsessed with personal finance and just getting really intentional and careful about what we did with our money. And that was one of the reasons that we were okay a year ago and we are okay now. And there was just this wake up moment of, not everybody's having this experience. And me 2 years ago, I would not have had this experience. So what can I offer around what I've learned? So it was kind of that mix of people turning to me and saying, hey, can you help me with this money question? And me just being like, oh, I did this thing.
That's amazing. And it's not uncommon, right? There were so many moments last year that made us, really help us keep the main thing the main thing. And then when we're spending our money, guess what? We were no longer spending our money on fast food restaurants, right? I have 6 kids. We go out to restaurants and it's an easy $200, right? But guess what? We had to actually go grocery shopping and eat at home. Listen, would you imagine that? And we saved like $150 just in one, And so the realization of how we were spending our money, it changed for a lot of people, a lot of families and things like that. And so, yeah, you talk about the support, really a different kind of support with you and your husband. So I was going to ask, what does that support look like? But let me just rephrase the question, because he's self-employed. You're now self-employed. So you guys really had to come together on the same page and talk the same language moving forward. So what was that conversation like, or what was the beginning of that like?
Yeah, so lots of check-ins is the short answer, just sometimes on the daily, just being like, okay, this thing happened, or this bill is coming up, or what about this? Or, oh my goodness, we have all these vet bills happening. How are we going to deal with this? And, we started updating and managing like a shared net worth tracker. So we have a Google Doc where we list all of our cash assets, all of our investments, and then all of our debt obligations. And we use that as kind of a foundation to talk things through. And we practice a lot of honesty as well. Like I mean, it's
Ooh.
something that pervades our relationship. Like we're very committed to being honest with each other to the degree we're able to. I think honesty and openness is a skill that you develop as you get more comfortable with yourself and you trust your partner and you trust life and the universe and God and however the framework works for you. So the more you trust, the more you're able to be open. And so we really practice a lot of openness around money and have regular conversations. I think that's really been key.
That's we can just have an honesty class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just alone. And not the honesty of what I think you want to hear, but the honesty of what's really going on,
Oh
how
yeah.
I'm really feeling, even if it's not popular in the moment, right? So
Yeah.
that is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about that communication piece. Like, I mean, how was that for you guys? Like, were you like open and honest and he had to get used to it? Or was it vice versa? He's open and honest and you had to get used to it? Or kind of are you guys the same in that?
I feel like we both have our areas. I really, really struggle with being honest about how I'm feeling about things. I struggle with knowing how I'm feeling about things and then being honest about it. I'm What I've realized is that it's actually okay to process things on my own and then be honest about them after the fact. That if things are really up for me, I don't necessarily have to force myself to express everything while I'm feeling kind of charged about an
Oh, wait
issue,
a minute. You said something really key. Wait, let me go back to
Okay,
that. That was a good
rewind.
so you said it's okay to process on your own, process your ups, your downs, how you're feeling. And then by the time you're coming to your husband, you're coming with that well thought out thought process, even though you might have some, different ways of thinking about it. You bring all of that, right?
Yeah. And I feel like if I'm just really kind of in it in my head or in my emotions, I just struggle to put things into words. So I find that if I give myself space, then I'm just more able to communicate what I want to communicate, rather than just being a puddle on the floor, which I do think there's value in just being vulnerable and in the moment and real with each other, of course. But yeah, so I would say that that's kind of my area of like, what am I feeling and how can I describe this thing? And I don't know that I can really speak for Michael. I will say that he going to see a psychotherapist has been a big part of his life and important. And um, I appreciate that as a resource between the two of us. Like he's really spent a lot of time just figuring out like, who am I, what do I want, what's going on, and how can I be in relationship with someone else. And I feel like that's been a real source of support in our relationship.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And, because some people, don't do well, spare the moment. This is how I'm feeling because it might not come out like we
Yeah.
hope, like we say it in our mind, it might come out a different way. So having that time, giving yourself permission just to process before you present, right? Ooh, that's a book. That's a book right there.
Yeah,
Process
that's a good
before you
title.
present, right? And that's amazing that, you allow yourself to do that. And sometimes, as wives, now between my husband and I, he's the quiet one, I'm the outgoing one. I'm not really outgoing, but I'm kind of outgoing, if you couldn't tell. No. And he, and sometimes I want answers like, what do you think, what do you think, what instead of giving him that time to kind of process. So that's so good. That's just so good. Even in business with your clients and in your relationship, that is just a good tool to have. And so as when I'm building, empowering women to build intimacy with their husband, there's so many questions wives have, like, how do you be comfortable with this, or how do you do this? So what is a tip you would share to a wife that's new in business and married and is just wondering if she can even handle building a marriage and building a business. What would you say to her?
I would say ask for what you need. Take the time to pay attention to what you need and then ask for it explicitly. So, I mean, in my experience, this varies, I think, according to what generation and age you are, but at least for me, so I'm just at the cusp of the millennials. I'm 44. And so in my experience, what I learned growing up is that my primary role is to facilitate other people's needs, take care of everybody else. And I think that we still, no matter our age, those of us socialized as women, this really comes with us, that, focus on others first, and we make ourselves safe and taken care of because we are meeting the needs of others. And so I think taking a beat to just ask yourself, first of all, what do you need? Like, if you could have anything, what do you need? Just like, don't pick from what you think is available, but really ask yourself what you
need. Don't pick from what's available, but ask for what you need. Listen, that right there is a mic drop, because that's what we do. And listen, I'm 44 too. I get it. We are, we're nurtured as nurturers.
Yeah.
And not as, what, I can actually ask for what I want. And so we're trained a lot of times not to know what we want because we're so busy fulfilling what you want. And so, oh man, that is good. I love it. Because go ahead.
Well, no, I was just reflecting as you were speaking that it plays into money stuff as well, that we can charge prices that allow us to meet our needs. We need to know what we need to begin with. I think a lot of people don't really fully grasp. And I think especially for a new business owner, you really got to get clear. Okay, so if I bring in $1,000, that's not the money that I have to play with in my life. You bring in $1,000, you take care of your expenses, then you pay your taxes, or you put that tax money aside. And then that's the pot of money. And so the question is, what do I need right now? What do I need in the future? So, this question of like, what's in front of me and what do I need overall plays in with finances as well. And I think it's always important to develop your money skills and get good at how you handle your money and just be intentional. Like, we work hard for our money, and even if we don't work hard, like, it's meaningful to have a gift of money in your life and to make a choice. Like, how lucky are we that we can make choices about money in our lives? And so I think, as far as I'm concerned, everyone benefits from learning these skills. And part of that is to just say, all right, what do I need? Not just what can I grasp at or what might I get, but like, what do I really need? How do I build a life where I thrive financially? That doesn't mean owning a yacht or anything. It's just, like, what are your genuine needs?
I love it. I absolutely love it because, so many times, you got me thinking, I'm looking up in the ceiling, I'm looking outside, I'm just like in my thoughts, like, whoa, this is so good. But I love it. And, for me, I think of that, assertiveness of knowing what you need, not rude, not, all out of pocket, but assertively ask for what you need. Man, if people would do that more, you'll be surprised. There's an app called Clubhouse, and in the room on Clubhouse, it was simply a collaboration room. And the 30 women of us that were on stage, we were just facilitating. Ask for what you need. What do you need in your business? Somebody in this room might have it. And so it's just a popcorn of asking what you need. Even myself, I made some phenomenal collaborations, and I helped, someone with a case study. Like, it was amazing. You never know. But guess what? Like they say, a closed mouth don't get fed, right? It's so important. And so, Eowyn, who is your ideal client? Like, what is your ideal client feeling right now that they really need to pick up the phone and call you, or in this day and time, message you and, slide into your DMs, right?
I
So
would love it if people called. I miss more
right?
phone calls.
I got like, wait, I don't even have my phone number posted. Right? But what is that person feeling right now and going through that you would be a solution for?
Yeah, I feel like this person is frustrated and tired and starting to get a little bit hopeless, is my experience. When they reach out, they're like, I put money aside and then something comes up and I need to spend it. So I'm never really making much progress when it comes to savings. And I find, like, when you work for yourself, you have variable income. It's just part of it. And struggling to navigate the variable income, putting things on credit cards, letting those credit card balances linger, and then having the added, burden of the cost of so much interest. And I also work with folks who, because they've kind of ignored their finances and their money as much as they could, they've just done the necessary. Often they're in their mid-30s or they've reached their 40s and they've yet to open a retirement account. So just kind of this like growing awareness that this is an area of my life that needs attention, and I have a hard time finding the structure that I need. Like, where do I start? Like, I don't understand the terminology. How do I even get going? What kind of accounts do I need? And, how do I stop spending all my money on like restaurants and books or whatever it be? So that kind of like muddled place, I think, would describe it.
That's good because, some of the things that you said, it described me years ago, like, and like, I don't know what to do. I feel good going out to eat. Right. But now, my husband, we are at a point that my husband and we have 6 children. 5 are grown and out of the house, and we have 1 left. She's 14 years old. And so we have seen our grocery bill, go from here to barely. And you know how I knew I'm almost an empty nester? I knew when a gallon of milk spoiled.
Yeah. You're like, this is a sign.
This is a gallon. We could not even find a gallon of milk with a flashlight after we bought it the day before. I mean, milk would just fly out of our house. But when a whole gallon of milk went spoiled, I knew, okay, it's time, right? And so I said all that to say that it's amazing the transitions that our finances go through, right? And so, having someone like you to help with those transitions, because you talked about that life of, okay, now I'm kind of reaching where by now I should have saved, or by now I should know what retirement looks like, but I'm really unclear. I really don't know. And so it's part of the, one of the areas of transitions in our life that brings that aha moment, right? That I'm not feeling 100% confident. I had another guests talk about that confidence, right? And even in your finances, in your relationship, I mean, you feel good when you are confident in, like, what's about to go down, right? You know what's getting ready to happen,
and you trust your capacity. Like that's the biggest takeaway I have from all of my obsession with budgeting and spreadsheets and all this stuff. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm tired. No more credit card balances. Basta. I come from an Italian American family. Basta. We're done. And so, yeah, you trust your capacity. You're like, yep, I can deal with whatever happens. Like, there's a lot of money comes in, I will make the most of it. If not a lot of money comes in, I know how to handle that too, because you've built up capacity. Yeah.
And that's and I promise I'm getting ready to wrap up, but let me unpack that. That is good. You trust your capacity. Well, how do you get to a point to trust your capacity? Because people don't trust it, and that's why they're in the situation that they're in.
That's a really good point. I think you build up trust over time. You prove to yourself over and over again in small ways that you have the skills to handle the money in your life. When it doesn't go the way you plan to go, it's not a big deal. You just kind of get back on your bike and you try again. So I mean, I think we learn to trust ourselves because we prove over time that we can do it. And when things don't necessarily go according to plan, we can adjust and we can adapt. And I also think it's a little bit like, you don't, if you're someone who wants to like be a triathlete and do an Ironman, you don't, you trust and you have confidence because you've put in the hours. You have, you've built those muscles, you've developed those, neurological patterns, you've developed your mental toughness as well to know that even when things don't feel like they're going the way you want them to, you're going to just keep pushing forward. And in my experience, it's like that with money as well. Like you build up skills, you build up muscles, you look behind you and say, hey, I did that thing. Like I saved this amount of money. I paid off that credit card. You're like, okay, I can do this,
That's good. That's good. And so you build up that confidence by doing it. Just like that bike. Yes. You build up that confidence by doing it. And you don't, fall off one time. It's like, well, guess I can't ride a bike, Oh, well, I tried. At least I tried. Let me go find another course to buy to help me because I tried and it didn't work. Right.
I mean, you nailed it with that course thing. Yes, absolutely. Because all this stuff comes up, of course, in growing your own business as well. Like, lots of confidence, lots of stick-to-itiveness.
Yes. Well, this has been what I call a rich, juicy conversation, and I absolutely love it. And so, Eowyn, how can people connect with you? Where are you in this digital land and world? Where can people connect with you at?
Yeah, the best place to come is my website for now, which is plumtreemoney.com.
Ooh.
I have a free resource if people are interested. It's called 3 Simple Steps to Improve Your Finances, even when your money's a mess, because Lord knows I've been there. And so, come find me on my website. I'm honestly intermittent with social media. I have a love-hate relationship, and sometimes I can handle it and sometimes I cannot. So the best place to find me is my email list via my website.
Got it. Thank you so much for just dropping. You drop nuggets and just you got to listen to you. You got to be whoa, wait. You said so. You got. I love it. It. So good. Thank you so much. So listen, make sure you follow Eowyn and find out all the information that you need to really reset the course of your financial track. Like, she's here to help you. You have no excuse. Start with the freebie on her website. So thank you so much for joining me in another episode of She Builds Intimacy with Her Husband podcast. Be sure to check out this month's masterclass by going to LeonaCarter.com. And thank you so much for your time. And remember, keep building intimacy with your husband. Bye for now.
Thank you.